What's up guys, Al here from AM Training, and as you can guess from the title, I'm going to talk about aesthetics. And you're probably wondering why I'm talking about aesthetics, because I'm not very aesthetically oriented. Actually, I'm oriental, but I am not aesthetically oriented. My focus is on strength. I'm really into the big three powerlifting movements, the squat, bench, and deadlift, and aesthetics tends to be a nice side effect for me. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because a couple videos before, you guys were talking about in the comments that I am secretly bulking, or my arms are bigger and I am getting juicy. J-O-O-C-Y. I'm getting juicy. But the reason why I am not secretly bulking is because I am actually not gaining any weight. I'm actually kind of in losing weight. So even though it looks like I am gaining weight or secretly bulking, the only thing that really changed was that I am kind of losing weight in my midsection, and I'm not also focusing on my weak point, which is my shoulders. So, and that's why I want to talk about what makes something aesthetically pleasing. When I basically lost weight in my waist and gained some size in my shoulders, I increased the golden ratio. And the golden ratio is something that happens naturally in nature. And yes, that's redundant, but it does happen in nature because let's go ahead and talk about your forearm. I'll give you the equation right here, but the forearm basically, if you get your forearm right here is, we'll call that A, plus your hand, we'll call that B. Basically the ratio between A and B is the same ratio as A plus B is the ratio to A. So basically if you caught that, you basically means that the forearm, the ratio between the forearm and the hand is the same ratio as the whole thing with the forearm. So that basically breaks down to a ratio of 1 to 1.618, which is 5. So basically what does that have to do with my waist and shoulders? Well, Steve Reeves talked about it before, or you know, he's the #1 guy that you think of aesthetics, well at least in my mind, and because he wasn't really big by all means, and he wasn't even really super cut, but he was very aesthetically pleasing because he really focused on the ratios between his joints and his muscles. So when I decreased my body fat around my midsection and increased my arms, my shoulder size, I basically got a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. And let's go ahead and bust out our tape measures that we all have in our pockets, because of course we're bros. Who doesn't have a tape measure in our pockets? Because any given moment you might be asked to go measure something down, yeah, in the, yep, never mind. And so when you measure, at least when I do, I am a bro. I did take measurements a while ago, and I am about 32 inches around my midsection, the smallest part, and right now I am about 49.5 inches around for my shoulders. And so before I started kind of getting into this secret bulk, I actually had a bigger midsection, and my shoulders were probably around 48.5 or even 49 inches around. So like I said, I increased about an inch or so in my shoulders and decreased my midsection. So that makes me a little bit more closer to the golden ratio. Now I'm going to go ahead and post the golden ratio. This is an article that John Romelo, I think I'm mixing up with the shoes. John Romelo wrote down, and I'll put it down in the article below. He wrote a great article about the golden ratio, but the thing that I have a problem with that is I didn't really understand the perfect bicep size, because according to him, you have to get, or Steve Reeves, you have to get your wrist size, which mine is 7, and you basically times that by 2.5, and 2.5 is nowhere near 5, but I might be missing something, but that equals out to, you're looking at maybe a 17.5 inch bicep, which my arms are about 16.25 on a good day or so. So that's something that has stayed consistent. So I didn't really get bigger biceps, and you guys were getting bigger, but it was really coming down to my shoulders. So that's basically what comes down to it. And here's another tip real quick. When you are measuring your bicep, there is a way where you can pretty much talk about body fat. So I think that's what happened to me, is that I lost some body fat around the arms because my measurement is the same when it's you know, flexed, but my measurement probably was a little bit different when it was relaxed. So what that means is that the difference between my flexed arm and my relaxed arm was a difference of, at the time, maybe 2 2 inches, which is pretty good, which is decent, which is something that is very correlated to body fat. And of course, everyone's going to be different between muscle attachments and peak of your bicep, but your goal should be around 2 or 2.5 inches between the flex and unflex, and that just basically means that you can't flex fat. So if your flexed arm is 20 inches, yeah, you got big arms, 20 inches, but your unflexed arm is like 19.5, there's a problem there. You need to make sure that you're not a fat ass and you're in denial that you have big arms. What else let's gotta talk about? So the master himself, Steve Reeves, he said 2.5 your wrist arm should be your bicep. And since we're talking about aesthetics here, your biceps should be the same as your neck and your calves, and then basically you get your calves, to get your thighs you get your calf measurement, which is for me like 16.25 or so, and then you times that by 5, which is 1.618, and that would give me roughly around 26 inches for my thighs, which at the time when I was squatting I was around 26 inches, but I lost a good amount of weight, and or lost a good amount of thigh size. I am not going to talk about that because that is again depressing. And so arm size isn't always going to be the best factor for being aesthetically pleasing. Like I said before, it really comes down to the ratio between your joints and your muscle bellies. Everyone knows, or a good amount of you guys know, the infamous bodybuilder Greg Valentino. I'll post a picture right here. He is a big synthol user, as you can see, and just looking at him, something's not right. You know he has big arms. He actually has like what, 24 inches or something, but it just doesn't look right because it's not natural at all. It doesn't have that nice pretty much ratio of 1.618 to everything else. It just looks like a mess, at least in my opinion. And he knows it looks a mess because in an interview before he did, he talks about he knows it looks gross, but he's just that kind of person. He really wants to be kind of a freak. So the golden ratio happens a lot in nature. You can see it from trees, pine cones, flowers, and everything like that. It goes even when you get that golden ratio and you make it a rectangle of different golden ratios and put it in a pretty much in rectangles that gathered up together, you can actually draw a spiral, which is also things that happen in nature as well. Like I said, flowers and plants grow differently like that, making sure that they're optimized for the amount of sun that they can receive. So that happens in nature, and like I said, you can draw a spiral through those rectangles because you have the golden rectangle, and every rectangle that goes bigger and bigger becomes a spiral. I'll post a picture here just to kind of get through it. I'm not really going to talk about it in detail, but the cool thing here about the Fibonacci spiral, which is the spiral you're looking at now, is that if you actually get that spiral and you get 2 spirals and you turn them kind of right side around and mirroring each other, you can actually get the perfect ass. Yeah, the perfect ass. The Fibonacci spiral makes a nice perfect ass, and that is aesthetically pleasing. Aesthetically pleasing. But I digress. Let's not talk about all that. That's just a little bit too much, because let's talk about what we came here for. So with all that being said, I want to go ahead and shout out my boy Brian from Humerus Fitness, because I'm sure he definitely talked about all this aesthetic stuff and the bicep size and all that in his channel, because he has a great channel. He's not only does he talk about fitness, but he's really entertaining. I am a big fan. I've followed him since he had like less than 2,000 subscribers, so he's getting pretty big up there now. And what's great is that he is a bodybuilder. He's bodybuilding oriented, and like I said, we are all in it together. Whether we're powerlifters or we're bodybuilders or we're strongmen, we have one thing in common, and that's we hate CrossFit. No, we don't hate CrossFit. Well, maybe some of us, but what it comes down to is that we're all you know, brothers in iron. And definitely check out his channel, because not only like I said, not only does he talk about bodybuilding, but he talks about just the way of life here in San Diego as well. So hopefully me and Brian can one day do a collab together, because we're both here in San Diego, and you know, me being powerlifting oriented and him being bodybuilding oriented, we can definitely learn a lot from each other. I mean, at least that's what my goal is, because I'm always about bettering oneself, being the best person that you can be, and it doesn't matter if you're into CrossFit, powerlifting, bodybuilding, strongman. It really comes down to that. We're brothers in iron, trying to better ourselves. So with that being said, check out his channel. That's my boy. I've been following him for a good since he was born. No, he wasn't born. So with that being said, like I said, check out his channel. He's a great guy. I'll post either video right here or description below. But train hard, train smart, guys.